This is our SF49ers podcast, which means it is not mine, not yours, but ours. The Niner Empire consists of you, the fans, and so we are interactive. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter by typing in OurSF49ers. As always, I am Adam, and joining me is the Empire's famous Raj. Raj, what's up, man? How's it going? Let's do this.
What's up, man? How you doing? I'm excited. We are getting closer to training camp. We're almost a week away. Tuesday will be a week
Yes.
away from training camp, so let's go, baby.
Yep, we are hyped for training camp, and we're going to get into the ins and outs of that because a lot of people have questions on how that works and what to expect. And so, what I wanted to get into first was some of the stories that we talk about throughout the week. And the main one was we had kind of been hearing rumblings of Jimmy Garoppolo with his shoulder and been throwing, and now it's kind of come out that he has officially been throwing for a little bit now, a couple weeks. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how we've handled the situation on Jimmy and Trey?
Oh man, I mean, the whole situation's been absolutely crazy from the moment they made this trade, right? I mean, a year ago to move up to get that third pick in the draft. I mean, that shook the whole Niner empire, man. I just remember that day getting that breaking news notification from Schefter, and I'm going, "Holy crap! What just?" I mean, I was like, "Wow!" I knew they wanted to upgrade. When you get the number three quarterback, it was like, okay, they're definitely moving on from the Jimmy Garoppolo era. You know, he came in, he changed the culture, he did his thing, he's a class act, but the injuries are kind of tough to deal with when you have a quarterback that is hurt. You know, and Lynch and Shanahan, they talked about that many times. You know, they're always looking to upgrade at any time, any position, no matter what. And you know, they wanted to kind of do this thing to look at the future. They're always looking to make sure that their team is going to be good, not just now, but in the future. You know, to build a dynasty type thing. So it was a crazy moment when it happened, but afterwards, I remember talking about this. I mean, I've been talking about this subject over a year. Where it's July 2022, and we're still on the same topic as we were last year at this point. So it's kind of crazy. I feel like I guess they dropped the ball in this situation in some matters. Like, yeah, okay, you had a rookie. It's cool they could learn on the bench. You know, I know I get that type of development. You know, it's fine, but he has learned from the bench. He came in, he learned a lot. They gave up a lot to get a quarterback, and now I think they need a segue, and I think that's what they're going to do. But then the shoulder injury really complicated things on the Jimmy situation. Doesn't seem like a lot of teams are out there that really need a quarterback now. Doesn't seem like he will be traded at this point. You know, I know he's starting to throw, which the reports have surfaced, but will teams really need a quarterback? So it's tough. He may end up staying on the roster at a big time, you know, $26 million a year contract. That for a backup, it's kind of a lot of money, right? But he's a good
Right.
backup because what's happened in the past is, you know, the starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, has been hurt. And then we come in and we get guys like Mullins and Beathard. And no disrespect to them, they just can't win games with this team. Jimmy at least can win games with this team. So if he has to come in, emergency. I hope Trey stays healthy, knock on wood and everything. But if he had to, we know we'd be okay and they could win games. And the Niners want to make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl. So it wouldn't be that bad of a thing, except he's getting paid a lot and you got a lot of players that need to get paid. But he's got one more year on the contract, let him write it out. The other tile of that is I was listening to Steve Young over the weekend. He was on KMBR. He thinks, and this is a pretty logical standpoint, that he thinks that once the physical comes, he passes physical. He's been thrown for a few weeks. He says that Jimmy will probably ask for his release, and the team's gonna respect his request and say, "Hey, look, okay, we'll let you go, and you can figure out where you want to go." Maybe his agent is contacting teams, and maybe if he asks for his release, he can figure out what he needs to do. So that could be a logical decision on what happens from here on out. But to answer, how do I feel like this organization has handled it? It's tough because part of me thinks, yeah, they could have probably made this trade a long time back. They could have traded Jimmy Garoppolo last year if they really wanted to, but I think they wanted to make sure they had um, that option that they knew they felt safe with. You know what I mean? Like Jimmy, they felt safe with him. If he was healthy, they knew they could win at least 10 games. Like that was their safety net. So I don't think they wanted to pull the plug on him just yet. But at the end, the other bargain is maybe they were looking for too much in return. So I think they were trying to fish for too much, maybe. So it's tough. But I also see it as, look at the Patriots. They had Cam Newton and Mac Jones. Bill Belichick wasn't afraid to get let go of Cam Newton. Now it kind of surprised a lot of people, but they gave the reins right to Mac Jones, a young quarterback. He wasn't horrible last year as a rookie. So it's tough. Overall, I feel like they could have moved Jimmy a lot faster than they did, and we wouldn't be talking about this today. But again, a year later, we're still talking about it. To me, it's kind of crazy. But hey, at the end of the day, we're not in the back office. We're not behind the scenes. So let them do what they got to do. I trust that they'll get this right, and we'll see. I kind of believe, like I said, Steve Young's take on the fact that Jimmy might ask for a release. That might ultimately be the way this ends. Because if he doesn't, I don't think they're going to be able to trade him.
Right. I think back to the trading down and giving up the farm, as some people say, for Trey and things like that, and what you said about we need to trust these guys. You know, there was a time that we remember when Tom Sula was coach where we could say, you know, I don't know if the team is actually trying to win. I really don't. It was so frustrating. And at least we can say that that is not the case. Now, are we scratching our heads a little bit on some of these situations? Absolutely. But do we have faith? Yes, because this team is absolutely different now. And so I'm at least excited about that. Uh, like we said, it's hard because we've been talking about this, man, for a while. And it's not that I wanted to talk about this, but we kind of have to, right? I mean, it's what's going on right now. So one thing that we wanted to talk about was this show and the way that we both love the fans. That is such a fun thing about loving this team, is also getting to know the people, right? And so what we want to do is be interactive with this show. And so what I have is I've been able to reach out some people and ask what they would want to ask you. And so I have a question here loaded, ready to go. And this is from James from Orlando, Florida, and he is at Niner Nuts on Twitter. And so, so he asks, his question is, what do you think is more likely? Trey Lance leads the Niners to a playoff win, or we go 5-12?
Oh wow, my man! Shout out for the question, Niner Nuts, out in Orlando, Florida. That dry, or actually the humid Florida weather might be driving you a little nuts out there. But honestly, I think this is an easy question. I think the Niners are a playoff team, and you shouldn't lower their expectations just because we're having a quarterback that may not be, well, he's definitely not as experienced as Jimmy. I know
Right.
he's a young kid, 22 years old. He didn't have a lot of, time in college. He played for a smaller school. I know all the criticisms of Trey Lance, but they traded up to get him. He's the number 3 pick in the draft. He has talent. And that's the thing. This guy has talent. He has it in between the ears. He's a humble guy, smart man. He's hungry. If you've seen him training this offseason, he is so hungry. He's a grinder. He's going to go out there and wants to prove himself. He's been doubted already. Like, you can just sense like how much he wants to go out there and prove himself. And it's not only that. It's just the team around him. It's not one player that makes a team. You have a defense led by a unbelievable offensive coordinator. You have defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans. Last year, he was a rookie DC, and their defense was so good, despite the fact that they had questions in the secondary. Now they fixed that. You still have the best linebacking crew in the NFL and a premier elite pass rusher, Nick Bosa, plus a very stacked defensive line with so much depth. Like, you keep rotating those guys, keeping the legs fresh, bring the pressure on quarterbacks. The secondary is going to do so much better this year. That defense is going to help the team put them in great field position. Trey Lance doesn't have to do as much as a young quarterback, and then he'll get better, learning the nuances, reading the game, slowing things down, processing everything. Once he gets more comfortable out there as a quarterback, it's going to be crazy. And that's what happens with every young quarterback that is good. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, these guys, they came in, they kind of took it down, they ingested everything, and then once they figured it out and they slowed down, their talent took over, and eventually Trey Lance's talent's going to take over. And I think, again, this team around Trey Lance puts him in the best position to win. And I think a playoff berth is not even a far fetch. I think it's not even a hot take. I think you also have to look at the offensive side of the ball. You have guys like Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and the connection between Ayuk and Trey Lance.
His little
I mean,
milk
Trey
dud. His little milk dud.
like they are building a chemistry like no other. We remember Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle, the BFFs. Now you got Ayuk and Trey Lance, and that chemistry will go on for so far. It's going to take these guys to big heights because they want to prove themselves together. When you're working with someone that you really are passionate about and like you're good friends with and you have a good rapport with, your work's going to be more than work. It's going to be something that you enjoy doing, no matter what you do. Football, if you're a banker, whatever you do, if you're working alongside someone that you have good chemistry with, work's going to become so great. And those two guys have such a great chemistry. They're out there cooking s'mores together, before training. Like,
Teaching. He's teaching
team
him how to.
bonding. Yeah, he's teaching them out burning the s'mores, but it's team bonding at its finest. I haven't even mentioned George Kittle, the number one tight end in the NFL per ESPN, finally gets some respect, and Trent Williams, the number one offensive tackle in the NFL. I know there's questions; it's not a perfect team, but they also have to recognize the run game. Shanahan's always great at the running the ball. Elijah Mitchell, a good stable of running back. So, do I think this team will make the playoffs easily because they have a very, very strong team around Trey. And as the season goes on, he will only get better. I mean, you can't picture him getting any worse, right? So, yeah, to answer your question, yes, they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely a great question. I mean, it's tough when you have an unproven quarterback, and so that's why the questioning comes in. The other thing I think that goes into that is we talked about what the team was like before with Jim Tomsula, and I apologize for even having that name come up twice in our show already. But the reason I say that though is because there is a little bit of that swag factor where this team walks a little bit differently than what they did, 8 years ago. It's different now, and you have guys like Fred Warner and leaders on the team who, when they show up to practice, it's a different swag. They think that they're going to win, and that's a huge difference. And it doesn't matter if you have Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo; they still think they're going to win. And so I think I agree. It depends on, technically the question is, will he lead us to a win then? Because if we just scrape by and get to the playoffs and say Dallas or Green Bay or some dark horse, the Saints all of a sudden get really good or whatever it is, I mean, we could get tattooed if we're not ready. I mean, that makes sense. But if we run the table pretty well and we can get a home game, or I mean, I'm not greedy. I don't know if you are. Are you looking for a 1 or 2 seed
I
or
don't know.
what?
As long as you make the dance, you got a chance. I think the team can make the Super Bowl at any position. Like, again, just because we have a young quarterback, we shouldn't have to temper our expectations on what to expect. A lot of people said, "Oh, they'll be happy with an 8-win season." That why
No way.
going to
No
the play?
way.
They still could be a Super Bowl team. Like they just went to the NFC Championship. And I'm sorry, I love Jimmy. He's a great guy, but I think Trey Lance is an upgrader. You upgrade one of the probably the most important position on the team. To me, that tells me they should win a Super Bowl. But I mean, again, take off the goggles off. He is going to struggle at times. He's a young quarterback. He's going to make mistakes, and it's tough in the playoffs. There's a lot of pressure, and in pro sports, when you get to the highest level, pressure takes over. Can he handle himself in pressure cooker moments? We're going to find out. But I think if they make the playoffs, they at least win a game. I think he will. Again, this kid is ready to prove himself. He is so hungry. There's been so many receipts. Just last week, him and Brandon Ayuk. We know the video that went viral last week. The practicing, throwing the darts. And then Brandon Ayuk in the caption says, "Oh, he only threw these 3 passes all day. There's only 50."
Right.
They're already poking fun at the media. They've got the receipts. I love it. You love it. This kid already wants to go out there and just say, "Hey, look, take my name out your mouth and put some respect on my name." Like you can tell Trey Lance wants to say it, but he's not going to because he's not that type of guy that wants to clap back. He's gonna
Right.
kill people with his ability on the field. He's just gonna go out there and let his game do his talking. So, do I think this team can win the Super Bowl? I think so, as early as this year because the team are like Nick Bosa is entering his prime. Adam, Nick Bosa is entering his prime. He was coming off an ACL tear last year, and he had 15 and a half sacks. That's disgusting. Have you seen him this offseason? He posted a picture last week on his Instagram. His freaking thigh, his legs are larger than your whole body, dude. It's crazy. You're a big dude. His legs look
Yeah.
bigger than you, man. I was like, holy crap, this man is in peak, like peak shape. He said it a couple weeks ago. In minicamp, they interviewed him and they go, "How you feeling?" He goes, "Honestly, I'm in the best shape of my life." That is scary. Nick Bosa is on a mission. Fred Warner, he just got married this offseason. I bet you he's ready to go out there and just like, man, new vigor, new life, and a lot of these players have contract years coming up. They're ready, man. I think this team is just ready and primed for a big run. Debo, if he gets paid, he's going to want to go out there and have a big season and prove he's worth the money. Brandon Ayuk's in a contract extension year, basically. He wants to go up and tear it up. There's a lot of players that want to win. Of course, other teams have these issues too. A lot of players that are probably primed for a big year. But I feel the Niners are getting overlooked. They were just in the NFC Championship. I think they can get back there and get that sour taste of defeat out their mouth and get to the Super Bowl. We'll see. And Kyle Shanahan, eventually he's due, man. Eventually he's got to get over the hump, right?
Yeah, I think that people think that beating a number one seed at their place is just some kind of fluke. I've never understood that. I don't care if you're the Yankees or the Padres or whoever or the Celtics, whatever team you want. If you're the number one seed and you're playing at their place and you knock them out, and I don't care if it's overtime or by a last second three pointer or by a fingertip touchdown, it doesn't matter. And I don't understand how people don't give us credit for that. I mean, for that second half, Aaron Rodgers was nothing, and what he was playing against us, it wasn't, So yeah, I agree. Next year should be fun. We're talking about practice a lot, and we're a little bit excited because now it's like the real practice is about to start. So I wanted to ask you. A lot of people have questions. The main questions I feel like people have is why should they not freak out, or why should they freak out when so and so doesn't show up, or when this guy said he's not reporting, or and what are the days and times? Give us all the ins and outs
You
of
talking
training camp.
about practice?
I knew that was coming. I set you
Set
up
it
for
up.
that,
I
bro.
knocked it out of the park. But honestly, like training camp's
Yeah.
important, because they got to put the pads on. You got to get ready. Prep for the season. Make sure you get your rapport with everybody. But for certain players, it's honestly not that big of a deal because, like, if you're a veteran that's been in 10, 11 years, you're gonna get some days off. Sometimes people don't report because it's just a veteran day off. Like Armstead's gonna get them. You don't want them to wear into. You don't want these players to gas out in training camp before the season starts. So there's gonna be days. Trent Williams, he might get some veteran days off. George Kittle, they have a 17 game season to go through. So if you see some players that don't show up in training camp, it's not really that big of a deal because a lot of them are trying to make sure they're taking load management, like in the NBA, right? You take some time off. Again, it is important to get your training camp reps in, but some of these players, the veterans, they don't need to be there. The younger players, the rookies, the guys that are trying to make the roster, if they're on a bubble, yeah, they need to show up. They got to learn, the ropes and get the techniques down, and they got to, impress the coaches. You got to be there. It's you go to your job when you're just starting out in your job. You're not going to take days off. You're not going to ask for much time off. You want to go to work, prove that you're a great employee. So that's what these guys are doing. They're getting their licks in. The younger guys, the rookies and stuff, they need to be there. If they miss time, there may be a reason. Could be injury related. But if they just don't show up to camp or something, that's a red flag. If your younger players aren't there, that could be a problem. And then again, you have players that might be holding out, and that's another situation and another thing we could talk about another day. But there's certain players that do hold out because they're in a contract negotiation. Debo Samuel, a lot of people expected him to hold out in minicamp. He didn't. He showed up because he knows eventually he's got to get paid, doing his due diligence. He was just there so he doesn't get fined. Those players are rampant around the league. There's players that just show up, go through the motions so they can make sure they get their contract. Once they get the contract, okay, ready to roll. We got to work because also if you're in the middle of a contract negotiation, and you go to training camp and you go all out and you get hurt, you just screwed your chance of getting a contract. So it's tough. There's negotiation involved. So some of these players may not be there because they're in the middle of a contract. Once they get that signed and everything's cleared, they'll go do what they got to do at training camp. But you don't want to play on a smaller contract when you're about to get a big money because you can get injured and then you just screw your whole future up. So really depends on the situation. But as far as training camp, starts July 26th, next Tuesday, and there's going to be select days all the way up to I think it's the 12th of August. So about 3 or 4 days every week until that point. There's a Dwight Clark Day. Typically, it's been in the Levi Stadium. You can see like open practice in the stadium. They sell the tickets. If you had a season passes, you could have already gotten your training camp tickets. They give you a little pre-sale code. I got mine from, I got a lot of people that know that have super season tickets, so I was able to get some. If you're just general public, tomorrow, if you're watching this today, if this is today, Monday, 12 p.m. Monday, what's today? The 17th. Tomorrow's the 18th, correct? Yeah, so the 18th
Yep.
at 12
Yep.
p.m., the tickets will be on sale for the general public. Training camp's fun if you've ever been there. They got the benches set up, and you watch them. You know, you can take a little bit of footage in the beginning, and they'll tell you when you can't take away your. Then they tell you when you can't shoot the video and stuff because they have stuff they don't want to leak out to the media. There's a lot of rules. They may change them every year. Who knows? But they have to do what they have to do
Sure.
to make sure the media doesn't leak too much content out there. They'll provide some. During the day, their media crews out there, but it's a good chance to just see the players, get a first look at them, a little glimpse of them, watch them, work and prepare for the season. Afterwards, they typically come and they'll do a little autograph. Some of the players run out to the sidelines. Last year was tough because there's still kind of COVID guidelines. The year before they did. It
Sure.
depends this year how they're going to do it, but typically there is a time where they come and sign autographs. So that's always fun for the fans. So I'm excited though. Training camp
Yeah.
just around the corner, and when the pads come on, that's when it gets real.
Yeah, definitely excited for that. We will be talking more about training camp as it gets started for sure. So the last thing, since we have just a couple minutes, I kind of wanted to change gears a little bit and talk during games and some of our favorite things to do during a game if we're either watching at a friend's house, at a local bar, whatever the case may be with family. One of the things that comes up no matter where you are is wings, and so could be different places, could be different sauces. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of your favorite wings, and what type of sauce? And are you, the big question is, Raj, that people are going to be asking right now as I'm saying this, are you boneless or
Okay,
bone
that's a good
in?
question. You know what? We gotta love the food. It's all about the food on game day, right? We get the big food spread, especially if you have a party. You get all the big foods, but the wings are very critical to a football party because everybody loves wings. Well, most people do. It's all about bone in. If you're getting wings, they got to be traditional bone in wings. I'm not a hater on boneless wings, but it's all about the bone wings and how the meat slides off the bone and all that is just amazing. You go to Wingstop or Buffalo Wild Wings, wherever your wing place is, you got to make sure they have premium wings and they got to come right out. That meat has to just fall off that bone. I love garlic parmesan wings. Those are always good. Those are good. The classic mild or hot wings. Those are just the classic to me. Simple. I like the the term keep it simple, stupid. I just a simple hot wing with some ranch sauce. That's to me. That's the best, man. You just go and get
That's the other question, ranch or blue cheese. So I
day
got ranch
over
as
blue
well.
cheese any day of the week. That's all. I'm team ranch all the way. Um, there's definitely
Yeah.
so many good wing spots, but barbecue wings are also good. But I like again, if I have to go somewhere, I'll usually get the the spicy wings, whatever they're, you know, regular
Yeah,
with some
regular,
ranch. That's
sure.
usually the go-to. Wingstop, man, their fries are so good. I don't know. I love wings, but you got to go with the classics. What about you? What are your wings?
So I like the spots that have more than just the barbecue and the mild. Like your regular joints probably have just those, but I do enjoy from Buffalo Wild Wings any sauce that is Asian Zing. So when I go to other places, I say, "Hey, do you know Buffalo Wild Wings Asian Zing?" And they're always like, "Yes." Do you have anything close to
Uh-huh.
that? That's what I always ask. And if they do, I always get it. If it's like a smoky teriyaki or like whatever it is, Asian Zing by far, because it doesn't burn your mouth off. I'm not a super 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 burn your mouth off and then you can't feel your lips for 8 hours. Like I don't understand the point of that. I mean, how
I
spicy
mean,
do you go?
I like spicy food. I just because I was kind of raised on it. But you're right with the wing. If it's too spicy, it takes away the flavor and the enjoyment. I like to taste the flavor, like garlic pepper wings and stuff. I want to feel the. That's why I get those wings because you want to taste the flavor of that wing. I'm not gonna go crazy on wings like some people. They love atomic hot, super high habanero, like crazy chipotle sauce. Like it's cool. I'll have it. I could tolerate it, but I just want to enjoy the football game and then enjoy. So that's again mild
Right.
is always a good wing because you can taste the flavor. You can heat it up with sauce if you need to, but I just want a traditional wing. Get some good ranch, and that's it, man. But again, I do like some of those Asian zing sauces. Those good adds a little kick to it. But I'm just more
Yeah.
traditional when I go with wings.
Yeah, you got to have the ranch. I like a little
Yeah.
celery too, just to munch on. And then the regular medium, like whatever the regular hot sauce is. The barbecue can be important too because nowadays there's about 20 different kinds, and I do like the tangier barbecue sauce. So I'll ask maybe a teriyaki, maybe a tangy barbecue, an Asian zing. The garlic parmesan that you mentioned, I don't know. It depends on who I'm
Mm.
around because that's
And I
hard to wash that
like
flavor,
I
bro.
don't always go and get like a garlic parmesan if I'm with people. That's why you got to stick with the classic wing because you're not gonna funkify your breath because you're gonna be like, let me not sit by Raj, So it depends on where you're at. So that's again another reason why I like the traditional because it doesn't throw salt in your game. I do like a good lemon pepper wing, but again, the same issue is you gotta make sure you have some mouthwash on deck or something if you're around people. So again, the question.
Right.
Basically, I like the basic wings because it's not going to overpower your mouth.
So we agree on the bone in and the ranch. If people order boneless, like sure, I'll have
And
a chicken nugget.
fried
That's
chicken
what I
nugget.
call them. Like okay, like that's fine. But yeah,
Yeah,
give me the bone in for sure. All right, now tell us what you have going on this week, where we can follow you. I did create a Facebook page, OurSF49ers, that I can grab some of the content and throw it on there and be interactive as well. But
yeah.
where can we follow
Twitter,
you?
Instagram. That's the main culprits where I'm at. RSF49ers and YouTube at RSF49ers. So it's pretty simple. You type in the same name
Yes,
on
sir.
each platform. You search me, you'll probably find me. So
Yep, you're gonna find it.
yeah.
Yep, make it nice and easy. All right, for Raj, I am Adam. We will see you again. We have more content coming. We're excited for the season. We'll let you know different things going on. We're just kind of getting some content out there, just a half hour or so, just to say hi to you guys, and we want to be interactive with you guys. So we'll see you soon. And
Take
thanks
care,
again to
man. Have a good
Raj.
rest
Thanks,
of your day.
man.
Take care.
Yep, peace.